Life on the Ramona Coaster by Ramona Singer of the Real Housewives of New York City fame. That's the book that we're talking about today. I don't have much random fun facts to say about this particular person, probably because she's from the East Coast and I'm based in the West Coast. Unlike in the case of Kyle Richards, whose book we did last as in yesterday. Yes, I just finished another book today, Tuesday, January 21st. We have a new president, and it's 11:22 in the morning. Honestly, my mind is just meandering. By now, I should have already put away the laundry. The goal was to do this, that, and the other. I had a list of at least 3 things that are important that I want to have taken care of today. So far, I've eaten breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I know, it's not even noon yet. And that's basically all I've done. And to distract myself, I was like, oh yeah, there's one other thing that I can do that's not on the list. And here we go. Yesterday, we didn't have internet. I didn't have cell service from around 2 in the afternoon. That was an absolute curveball, which I handled like a champ because I went straight into that book and I just hit play. And I listened to a 350-page book in basically less than 24 hours. I didn't really sleep. Even when I was awake in the middle of the night with a little bit of insomnia, I'll just hit play and enjoy. The book was very enjoyable for me. I followed the Housewives of New York City. I've watched every episode, some more than once. And it's one of my faves. Ramona was the original cast member, not unlike Kyle Richards, whose book we did last. Hers was Life's Not a Reality Show or something. And I'm like, I don't know what that's based on because it's not like her book was a tragedy or anything like that. But, who knows what the reason is. I don't know. This one, Ramona Coaster, we get it. It's kind of like an inside joke for fans of the show. Ramona talks about her life when she was young. This is a full-on memoir because I've mentioned how I didn't consider some of the books that I've reviewed here memoirs. This one was. She started from her childhood. She's the oldest of, I believe, 3. And her parents, I want to say, are from the old Soviet bloc, so kind of like Eastern European, that region. I think her mom's Hungarian. This did come up on the show somewhere. And her dad, it doesn't matter. I mean, it probably does, but I forgot. And that relationship was abusive, and they got to witness that. A lot of yelling and emotional abuse, according to Ramona. And it got physical a couple of times that she can recall that she did witness. But when she was a teenager, Ramona was like, F that. She grabbed a knife and she was just like, you hurt my mom again. I'm going to stab your ass in the neck. And Ramona says she feels like her dad may have loved seeing that reaction. He may have been excited by that. You never know what kind of reaction you'll get from somebody. I remember being in a crazy relationship, which I refer to a lot in my stories. It was life-defining and character building. And this person was a yeller amongst other things, amongst other just ridiculous, obnoxious, crazy behavior. And one day, pretty sure it was before my period, and I just was not going to have it. Whenever he would yell, it would just be him yelling. I don't yell back. I'm not mad. What am I yelling for? You're the one who's angry, I don't know at what, and you're getting yourself more and more worked up. The more angrier you talk, the more you yell, the louder it just was. He's making himself escalate, and you're watching it happen before your very eyes. And I'm just looking at him like, you sound so crazy. This is the fastest way to make somebody's vagina dry. And at the end of the day, you're going to be expecting the opposite result. How do you not see this coming? Pun intended. And then, so that day I was just like, F this dude right here. And I just, in fact, I don't even think we were together at this point, because I was coming out of my room. Because after we broke up, I rented a room from him, because it was really hard to find something. And I didn't want to rent a room and sign a contract for a year. I wanted an apartment for myself. And it was hard to find the perfect place at the right location. And, you know how it is when you're looking for stability, especially coming out of something so unstable. I just grabbed the door. He was just like, he's very good at going inside your head and just picking at your brain. Like, you literally can feel him inside your head. I grabbed the door and bah! Whenever I remember that, I still remember that noise. It was exhilarating. The door somehow it hit a full-length cheap mirror that was mine, because his stuff was better quality than mine. And that mirror, so between the bah of the door and hitting the mirror and the of the mirror, it was great. And I thought, I get why people break dishes and throw away stuff. That shit is addicting. I feel like I'm still chasing that high. No, I'm not. I've not done something like that again. I was tempted with a different dude. He did do something annoying, but I don't think it was annoying to that degree. It was really close to my period. I know, because I track. That didn't go how I would have wanted the second time. I didn't bang the door. I just closed it and I walked out. And I wasn't living there. I was just there for the weekend. And then as soon as I walked out, I thought to myself, you're going to regret this. It's going to be so awkward when you come back. Because I was just going for a walk. And I thought, it's going to be so awkward when I come back and he's making breakfast for both of us. Like, how am I going to... let me just fix it right now. So I came back. And the way that he handled me coming back right away and trying to fix it, me humbling myself, was very poor. It was one of the reasons I knew we weren't going to be together for a long time. And I don't know if it was an ego from my side where I was like, how dare you? I don't know. But it was just one more thing. Do I keep a score? I don't know. Maybe we should all keep scores. Because sometimes it's like red flag, red flag, red flag. And if you're not counting these red flags, then you're in this perpetual situation where you're ignoring the flags. No, ma'am, Pam. So Ramona didn't stab her dad, but she says the reaction. Oh, I was going to say, the dude, the mirror breaking guy, he was like, don't you dare slam doors in my house again. He said it in such a, which this is very on trend with his personality, in such a like, who the F do you think you are? You don't get to have a reaction. You don't get to be pissed off. I am the king of this freaking universe type deal, which, like I said, very on trend with who he was. You would think that if it's somebody who cares about you and they've never seen you angry and you're so angry that you're doing that, you would think that maybe they would be like, oh, I'm so sorry, that I upset you this much. Maybe they don't say it right away. Maybe they say it later, whatever. It never, ever came up. Girl, please. You just never know, Sometimes that's why you got to just consistently be yourself, no matter... Don't try to stoop to anybody's level and try to outdo people in who they are, because you can't. That's who they are. You can only outdo them in being yourself. And you think that, I'm going to give him a taste of his own medicine and all those things. I don't recommend that personally. Just be yourself. And if it doesn't work out for you, you'd be like, yeah, let me go ahead and bounce, because this is not for me. Don't try to change them or whatever. Apparently, the dad may have gotten a kick out of that reaction. Who knows? Maybe he was like, oh, you're very much like me, or whatever. And there was a time when Ramona's dad, was abusive, not just to the mom now. It went on to Ramona as well. Ramona didn't get hit by her dad, but he was, there's other ways to abuse somebody. And in her case, it was, I believe, yelling, and she says emotional a lot, but I believe it was also verbal. And apparently he was a mean drunk, if I can use that phrase. There were other siblings, but Ramona was very protective of the other siblings because she was older and the mom was being abused. So somebody had to step up to the plate. I'm not saying the mom wasn't up to the plate just because she was being abused, but, I can imagine why Ramona felt responsible, and I hate that for her. It's so funny because if you watch the show, Ramona is very obnoxious in her personality, very she is going to be who she is, and blah blah blah. But when you're hearing the story from her perspective, of course she doesn't see herself like that. You know what I mean? Of course you're going to come from a place of kindness when you look at yourself, no matter how people receive you. So it's always interesting. I did rewatch that show last year, and she hasn't been on the show now because the original crew was fired and they replaced them with a cast of people with no storyline. So we've just been yawning ourselves right through the second season. When I rewatched it, just like in Kyle Richards' case of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I found myself feeling like I like Ramona. Not that I didn't like her, but I used to think, man, this lady is just excellent Real Housewife TV gold person, because she is in her own La La Land, Delulu Land, where she only sees nobody else but herself, is how I received her on the show. But when I rewatched it, I was like, you know what? If nothing else, she's been exactly the same person from episode 1. You got to appreciate that. But somebody, fame didn't change her. She was that way before fame, but, she was doing well. She became a millionaire, I believe, in her 20s. I know this fact from somewhere. Probably read it somewhere. And from being a buyer from Macy's, I believe. And she worked with a lot of stores like TJ Maxx, etc. There's discount stores, because whenever there's overstock, oh my God, I have a gift card from Overstock for years. I keep forgetting. It's not a store that I use. I won it from a TV show, and I just keep forgetting to use it. Shoot. Sometimes they have perfume. Maybe I'll get a perfume from there. So she would deal with, or liquidation, sales, etc. They would call her and she would buy and sell. First, she was working, I believe, for Macy's and whoever else, and then got to a point where she was doing her own thing privately, but she still had those contacts, so they would contact her and she would pocket all the profits, because now she was working for herself. And she was surprised that at some point, I think she needed $1 million for something, and she was able to raise, maybe she needed $100,000. She was able to raise a quarter of that, which is $25,000. And she talked to her dad and asked him if he wanted to be a partner, because, she needed funds. And he said, don't do partnerships in business. I'll loan you the money. She said she was so shocked because of how much of an a-hole he was to the family, and how much of a miser, is that the word? And he was. And he signed a check of $75,000 to her, and she paid him back in a month with interest. She said she was pissed off that he wanted her to pay him with interest. I like it. The whole story is great because your dad, my mother would never. Please. I had a car accident years ago, knock on wood, and people were like, why don't you ask your mom for a loan? I was just like, I just don't see that happening. I just don't. This is not that kind of a relationship. And I thought, okay, all right, maybe I'm the crazy one, so let's make the phone call. Yeah, I didn't get a check signed for any amount of money. But I fixed my car myself with my own money, and it continued to work. It was within the first week of having the car when I had the accident, I believe. It was still new. It was basically... Anyway, I fixed it, and I used my car with 2 colors, and then I saved money, and I painted it black. It was an older car. It looked really cool once I painted it. And when it was time to... I replaced it after a few years. It did its job and sold it. Somebody paid cash for it. That was nice. And, you don't forget those kinds of things. Just like you don't forget somebody who was there for you in times of need. It's hard to forget when somebody was not there for you. I'm not saying it's anybody's responsibility to be there for me at any given time. Thank God I was able to get out of that, because my car was my pride and joy at the time. And, it was a new chapter in my life. I just bought a home, bought a house and a car within the same week. Anyway, I don't want to, delve too much into... I was going to say, do you see how Ramona didn't expect this from her dad? But I also didn't expect it in my case, and I wasn't disappointed. She was surprised. I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed. I was hurt. But I wasn't surprised. And that's what moving forward, she was engaged to another guy, and I think they were together for 2 to 3 years. And the guy was a doctor, but he just would not shit. So she had him get off the pot and ended up with her husband, Mario Singer, who we know from the TV show. You see, the thing is, 24 hours ago, I was reviewing Kyle Richards' book and her husband's Mauricio. So I'm like, am I saying the right name? Yes, I am. And they're both handsome. So ended up with Mario. They were together for more than 20 years. They have a daughter who was 12 years old when Ramona got signed on to Real Housewives of New York City. And we all loved Avery. That's the name of the daughter, who is now done with college and everything. Then they bought a house in Hamptons, and she put a lot of money into it, Ramona, because she, I believe, was probably more financially successful than Mario, who was also doing well for himself. There was a family business, jewelry, etc. And then moving on to, there was infidelity, which was not well documented on the show, but we know about it because it led to the divorce between Ramona and Mario. But Ramona didn't want to talk about it, especially when it was happening. The news was out there, page 6, this, that, and the other. One thing about Real Housewives of New York is that page 6 is basically one of the housewives. Man, if they don't mention it every episode, definitely every reunion. So that was, it was hard to watch because obviously these people were very much in love, and Ramona is her own character, and this guy seemed to accept her the way she is and love her the way she is. It's beautiful to watch, and it gives us all hope as eccentrics and oddballs out here. No, she's beautiful, and she has a lot going for herself. Not that we oddballs and eccentrics don't. Then they split up, and she goes into detail about how she found out and how he denied, and it was confirmed, and then she believed this, and then they worked towards, fixing it, and therapy. Someone once said, once you get to the stage of going to therapy in your relationship, it's time to get a divorce. It's not time to. Once you feel like we need to go to therapy to fix this, just get a lawyer. It's over. Therapy is not going to fix it. It might just postpone the inevitable, but it's not going to evitable. So that part was really hard. The way she talks about it and the way she was just so open and she was hopeful, and she went to meet up with him at one of the houses, and instead he was there with a girl when they'd been going to therapy, and he had made promises and things were looking up, and they were both, she thought, were fighting for their marriage and their lives, and they call themselves the what is it? Trifecta, as in Tribeca? Trifecta. And he was with this girl, and he was just relentless, it seems like, with this girl, because they would be at an event and everybody's lovey-dovey, and or in a restaurant, and she would even say, you're not taking your phone with you if you go into the restroom or whatever, because you're going to call her. I mean, how desperately do you need to be talking to this person all the time on the phone that we can't just sit here and eat, and there's 24 hours in the day? Surely there's another moment that you can have to call her and text her in between, etc. For these people to have to police you during a meal, I'm like, dang, this poor lady, I'm sure in hindsight, is looking at this like the signs were there. But I hope that she's proud that she fought for her relationship. That would never be me. I am not a fighter for... I just come from a background of... I have... Maybe my attachment style is like kind of avoidant. I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like that's what resonates. And the last thing that I want to do is to be chasing after somebody. I already have my neglect issues and my rejection issues. So instead, I probably will see signs of said neglect and rejection, even if the other person's like, no, that's in your head. That's likely to happen. I used to always say, I'm the easiest person to get rid of. Please. I'll be gotten rid of without you even intending to get rid of me. And I guess, believe that you're getting rid of me. I'm not an idiot, though, and I'm not making things up in my head, I don't think. So I'll be there. I'll do what I think is necessary, and I'll be a good partner and everything. But once you fuck up, like I said, I will not forget it. I try not to cuss this episode, so apologies. But 20 years, I don't know what that's like. So I respect it, I can appreciate it, and I hope, and also they had a kid, which I don't have. So that's another part that was really like hard to read when it was about the daughter, because now Page Six and all these media outlets are talking about this, and the daughter finds out about it. It's like, no, not my dad. Oh my God, they're so in love. They're nauseating. Absolutely not. Apparently, Avery, the daughter, even said to the mom, this gossip that's out there about you guys being, there being infidelity, I honestly wouldn't even if I were to choose between the two of you who would cheat on each other, I couldn't even choose one because you guys are both so in love with each other. Poor lady. And the mom says, I was like just lying to my daughter because I didn't want her to get hurt. And I thought if we fix it, blah, blah, blah. It sucks because a lot of this fell on Ramona's shoulders. And, the other guy was just getting and keeping his dick wet. Not that it wasn't happening at home. But, and she says, maybe I got too successful, and not that I wasn't before, but now, attach fame to it. And I think season 7, she probably got a $1 million deal with the Housewives. I'm not sure, but she says when that deal came through of season 7, she noticed a change in her relationship. So I think it probably, because I know some of them when they're doing very well, when they've been on the show for a while, the deals have gone up to 7 figures. I know Nene got 7 figures, I believe. Tamara, I'm not sure, of Housewives of Orange County, and Vicky Gunvalson too. And sometimes when they get there, then it becomes like shaky, and then somebody gets downgraded. I feel like there's another word. Down whatever, to being a friend, demoted to being a friend of the show, which means, you're a friend of the show. It's self-explanatory, and your contract is different, etc. So it was hard to hear about Avery's experience of this, and then it was proven. Unfortunately, she overheard them because they tried throughout their relationship never to fight in front of her or anything. She's now in college, and she's back, and she's going through something in school with her lifelong friend who ended up going to the same college as her, and it wasn't working out, and she was having issues, and she wanted to talk to her parents about it, the breakup of her long-term friendship. And she comes home, and the air is weird in the house, and she came home, and the mom was just like, why don't you go and fuck her? And she was like, what the hell am I overhearing? And there's already the rumors, right, that have been denied. And she confirmed this with Ramona. Ramona's like, no, darling, I was saying, fuck them, or whatever. And the daughter believed them because, I guess that's what she wanted to hear. She didn't want it to confirm that her family is in shambles. Like, I'm dealing with my friendship not working out here, and now I gotta come home and witness this again. What is this? Mercury retrograde? I feel like I said retrograde. Weird. Then, unfortunately, there was some kind of a fight, not physical, and she overheard them fighting, and there was a text, and blah blah blah, and it was confirmed, and there was no way out, and she was. Avery was fighting with her dad, and her dad was just like, no, I'm sorry, because he didn't want to hurt. I don't think he wanted to hurt anybody. He just wanted to feel good. Maybe somehow something was happening, and he was feeling like he was hurt, and he was fixing that by having this affair, whether it's an ego being shattered or what. I'm not a therapist. And he was just trying to fix himself, make himself feel good, I guess, if I were to be his lawyer. And he didn't want his family to be hurt. I think he wanted his family to stay intact, but he also wanted to feel good. And I don't think he thought that one can exist without the other. So I guess he thought he was going to go ahead and have himself some kind of a polygamous situation or polyamory. What do I know? And the daughter was like, you cheated on my mom, fuck you. I don't imagine the daughter used to use that kind of a language with her parents, but you hurt. So I hate that for her. I'm sure they're fine now. We've seen photos and whatever. Not that, photos mean anything. But, And Ramona and her daughter, Avery, had a podcast. I think they canceled it. I don't know how long it went for. The reviews were nice. I just couldn't get myself to listen to Ramona on a podcast. just was like, and I've said this before, I'm not a big fan of spin-offs and whatnot. So I was like, nah, I'm good. But apparently, and people were like, wow, Avery's so smart. The daughters usually are like fan favorites. They're just not daughters necessarily, but the kids. It's just they usually end up being daughters a lot of the time on these Housewives shows. So people always be like, oh my gosh, the kids are so great and whatever. And I don't necessarily follow them like on social. I don't follow really famous people on social media. But whenever I think of somebody, I'll like go on Instagram and see what's going on. It's like scroll, like, okay. And last I heard, Ramona was in love with a dude from Florida, and they have a friendship with Mario, who even after they broke up was still coming on to the show, flirting with Ramona and whatever. And Ramona's like, I don't know what he's doing. Like, we will never get back together. I think that's what happens when you've applied yourself so much into a situation and then it still fails. If the other person feels like, all right, now I'm ready. No, dude, like, I'm done with that. Are you still on that? So it was just like interesting to watch. And I loved it for Ramona because, you see, now you're appreciating what you've lost. I think she kept her house in the Hamptons, which I love that for her. It's nothing more beautiful than watching people who were together, especially for a very long time, and they believed that they knew each other, like the backs of their hands, etc. And then they break up, so that's not the beautiful part. But when they do it amicably and respectfully, I think that's how it was in her case. Because there were no like stories. In fact, it just kept seeming as if they might get back together, I think. So it's nice to see that. I remember I wasn't in a long marriage, but I said, why do we have to hate each other? We can be friendly. We can still be in each other's lives. We can, beat those odds. We don't have to be enemies. Well, I didn't want to be broken up to begin with, but I wasn't going to stay in a toxic situation that's abusive in every single way, shape, or form, except for physical, not yet. But like you're doing physical things to yourself in front of me and you're blocking the door. So I'm like, am I safe? I feel like I should be ducking those too. So I said, we don't have to be enemies. And he was like, yeah, you're right. I mean, maybe we'll remarry. And I thought, oh gosh, maybe that's why people just block people, because he was like, you don't have to leave, right? I'm like, yeah, but I want to. Get me the hell out of here. So I feel like this review was more 50% Ramona and 50% my life, which is so unplanned. Let me go and get some work done. I feel like I should just list on eBay because it's been days since I have. We had yesterday off because it was a holiday. And even though I work for myself, I could have not taken it off, but I did. Deserved it. I don't even know what really I did yesterday or since the year started. Oh, I did laundry. So I'm looking at this laundry now. I'm like, should I just put the laundry away? But I feel like, let me list on eBay first. That's what I keep saying. That's why there's laundry here probably from last year. But you know what? I'm going to freaking do the laundry. And then I'm going to do on eBay. Because maybe I'll move faster if I do it that way instead of lying to myself and then ending up not putting away the laundry still. I'm at Babalabrook on my socials, my personal ones. My blog is babalabrook.com, youtube.com/Babalabrook. TikTok is back. And the podcast group name is Babbling Brook Podcast. Sorry about my floors. I just stood up. And if you can hear them cracking. As well as we're on Instagram at Babbling Brook Podcast. Please leave me comments in the comment section of Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you are able to do so, and reviews, ratings, tell a friend, blah, blah, blah. No, really, I mean all of that, though. Let's spread the word. Let's build a little community. And hopefully... Oh, I almost said something dark. Let me get out of here. Oh, my gosh. If you really want to know what I was going to say was... Hopefully I'm putting all of this work and asking people to spread the word and whatever. And that they will do it while I'm still here on this earth to enjoy it, because there are no guarantees. You know, maybe they'll start sharing it and I won't even be here to enjoy the fruits of all this labor. That's the dark thing that I was going to say. Yeah, it's a little dark, but isn't it a fact, Jack? I think so. And on that negative note, thank you so much for listening. I hope you are enjoying our show and my personal takes on things. Oh, speaking of personal takes, if you're still here, I did get to see Ramona in person. I think I've told a little bit of this story. Maybe it's on Patreon. I was at Fab Life, a show by Chrissy Teigen, Tyra Banks, and I believe Michael Moore. I think there was probably one other person. I did get to see John Legend there too, but it was my first time. I saw him in concert in Johannesburg, South Africa before. Neither here nor there. They were going to feature the Housewives who were doing press tour for their show. This is a few years ago, maybe could have been 8 years, 9, 10. And they had Dorinda, not Cindy, what's the... Julie, something to that effect. They had her, she was married to a shorter guy who was a lawyer. So they had her, Dorinda, and Ramona. Ramona, that was my brush with the law, with the Ramona Coaster. And she was on. She was so white. I don't know if it was winter or what, but I was like, wow. They look so different on TV. I mean, they didn't look that different. We were on TV still. But I was like, wow. And they came on. I was sitting close to the front. To cut a long story short, because I think I told this story already. My takeaway from that was, wow, Ramona really is this way, even in person. Because there was a cooking segment, and they had the housewives go and sample, and they put a piece of whatever they were making on a side plate or a saucer with a fork, and they handed it to Ramona. Ramona grabbed the fork. She had zero intention of taking the plate and holding her own plate with her own hand, because how dare these people even expect that? And I thought, this lady, that's literally how she is in the show. They talk about, she never says hi to the door people, or she won't talk to the assistants, and that kind of vibe. It was giving that. She grabbed the fork and she was going to just poke I think it was a piece of chicken. She was just going to poke that and eat without holding her own, and then I guess put the fork on the plate and let that person take care of it for her. And the person was like, no, take the plate, hold your own plate, Ramona. I was like, yes, what the hell? It was just very telling, a very small moment, but it was telling. She is the kind of person, when they go on these trips with the show, she doesn't care. She will find somebody and be like, can you take my suitcase for me? Even if you don't work there. She'll be at a club and see somebody in a suit, and she will just talk to somebody as if the person works there. I'm not going to say it's racist sometimes, but you know what? Actually, I think that's why she was let go from the show. I think she was let go before everybody else, before the whole crew was. There were rumors of racism and whatever. And because they had a black cast member, one of the last seasons, if not the last one. Anyway, yeah, I remember one time, I think it was on that show, and there was this black gentleman in a suit. And just Ramona turned around and was like, excuse me, can you please... And she's not asking, like, do you work here? Just asking, I think, can you get me a glass of water or whatever? It's just like, dude, I mean, are you cringing? That's the kind of thing. So that's why, for me, it was a big takeaway just seeing her behave like that at the show and wouldn't even hold her own plate. Because a normal person, you handing them a plate, they take the plate. They don't think to not take the plate when you're handing it to them. Like... That was my story. Should you buy the book? If you decide to buy the book, I'm gonna put it at the description box. Sorry, I'm getting distracted now. I'm like, I probably should say this somewhere in the middle of the show. But who cares, dude? Like, at the end of the day, let's just... At least I'm getting the information here. And if I don't get in here, it's fine still. But I'm going to put a Amazon referral link if you want to support this show, or if you're motivated to do so by hearing this, then that'll be highly appreciated. You purchase this book or any book or whatever you want on Amazon via our referral link, and we'll get a cut of whatever the price you would have paid Amazon is. I always say this, they're not charging you extra because they're giving us something. They're giving us something because we referred you to them. It's our finder's fee. Thank you so much for being here. It's tempting for me to just post another episode. What's today? Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Maybe between today and tomorrow, I'll post another one, even though I just posted one a couple days ago or yesterday. I don't know. Who knows? Thanks so much. I can't wait for people to start contacting us and to hear from you guys, because I can see the numbers. People are listening. Talk to me, please. I'm over here. Toodles.